Okay. One second here. Okay. I don't know what.
Man, I was like, I cannot believe you hung up on me, man.
Nah, definitely not that.
So,
yeah, but
picking it right back up, I know you were just talking about Phoenix and the project you were going to be working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've been really, really involved in his process and career, really encouraging. Is there anything you've learned through helping him to develop in the field that maybe you didn't realize or acknowledge as an adult actor?
Yeah, excuse me. One of the things that actors, we get so caught up in the, oh man, I gotta get this role, or you get so much angst and anxiety, and sometimes that actually is hurtful to the creative process, because you start letting your mind race ahead. Oh man, I'm auditioning for this thing. If I book this thing, imagine how great it'll be. And all that does is sometimes gives you unnecessary stress and angst. And what I've learned from watching Phoenix is like the immediacy of it, because he's only interested in what he's doing right now, because he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand, So he auditioned for this role in for this movie Macbeth, this was a couple of months ago, which is being produced by the Coen brothers, starring Frances McDormand, Denzel Washington, and I forgot who else is going to be in it. And the Coen brothers are directing it, and he goes in for this role for this kid. And it's Shakespearean language, and he's never done anything like this before, and he crushes the audition. And so we get a call from his manager, and she's like, the producers want to see him. And so now I'm taking him over to Warner Brothers, and I'm like through the roof, like edgy and excited, and he's like, la da da, it's just like another audition for him, right? And so we get there. And the door opens, right, for him to go in the room. And at his age, parents stay outside. And the door opens, and there's Frances McDormand sitting right in there. And I know as an actor, for me, I would be like, oh, my God, And Phoenix goes in, and he's like, yeah, I'm just going in to do my thing. And, and I realized, like, that's actually the better way to be, right? Because all that anxiety does is get in the way of your creativity. And it just always reminds. And then as soon as he finishes with an audition, he's not even thinking about it. Like, I got to actually fight him to sit down and watch the audition, because he's like, I don't want to see it. I've already done it already. I know what I did. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And there's so many actors that, we get hung up on, like, oh, my God, I got to watch this. And I think just being able to do it and let it go and open yourself up to whatever the very next audition is going to be. I know it intuitively, but when I see it through him, it's a reminder.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, he's a very smart young man.
Yeah, and that definitely speaks volumes for the old saying that if you focus on a problem too much, or trying to perfect be perfect or perfect this or not make a mistake, you're going to make a mistake, because you're too focused on not making a mistake that you're not going to see all the right things you're doing.
100%. 100%. Yeah, you do your preparation, you go in, and, you do your thing, and then you walk out of there confident that, like, I did my thing, whether they like it or not, or whether they think it was great or not, I did my thing. And that's the hard, man. as an artist, sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do, is because you put so much into it, you care about it,
right.
but you then have to do it and just be like, y'all are going to think whatever you think. And as long as I know I did my best and I'm prepared, think what you will.
Yeah, and you know, your care and the passion you have for the craft, you know, it carries over. You're very personable, likable. It carries over into your interactions with others and on screen. It's very visible that you're very invested. I know you're really sarcastically funny, and you're kind of like a little bit edgy sometimes with your humor on social media. And I've seen you put like for real as like a tag on there. Is this really like how you are in person? Like if we were to meet up like at a restaurant or somewhere, would you still have that same humor?
Man, let me tell you, I'm a hot mess.
All right, I missed it.
I'm a hot mess in person. Like I would say that people who would know me would say that my sense of humor is pretty much like what you see. It's probably, pretty dry. It's probably pretty dark. Sometimes bordering on the edgy, but it's, I guess in some ways maybe that's just a reflection. It's kind of a reflection of me and
right.
where I'm from and the journey that I've been on.
Right. Right. And if I recall properly, you're from New York.
Yeah. Born and raised in South Jamaica, Queens.
What? So, now, I read somewhere that you might attend a fundraiser for Ex-Offenders Resource Network. I know it was talked about like a couple of years ago to raise awareness about the need for effective prisoner reentry programming. I know Mr. Whitfield on the call, he's the founder. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about what got you interested in potentially supporting that.
Well, first of all, I have a couple of family members actually who have been incarcerated, and when they got released, one of them went to college, got his degree in computer science, and was having a real difficult time finding a job, right? And it's like, look, to be able to finish and get your bachelor's degree after being released from prison, right? And I just
That's
saw,
huge.
I was really proud of him for instead of coming back and saying, man, there's nothing I can do. He really went out and tried. But I also saw how difficult it was for him to get a job, where sometimes, he was tempted to lie on his application, and then after getting hired, they found out and they would let him go. Or he would tell the truth on his application, and then, of course, they wouldn't hire him to begin with. And it just seems like, listen, if someone has made a mistake, and, as a society, we have said, okay, for this mistake, your punishment is XYZ, and that person does XYZ, right, then in theory, their debt or their punishment to society has been fulfilled, right? And so from that point on, they should be able to have, the rights and the opportunities as other people. Because if you don't allow that opportunity, then what you're doing is you're setting this person up for recidivism, right, and going back to prison again. Because if you can't do it legally, you're going to do it illegally, right? And so it seems like the system is kind of ass backwards, right? Like we should be giving people all the opportunities to reintegrate with society, all the opportunities to, become a working member, tax-paying, member of society. It seems like we should be welcoming that, right? You did your bid, now you're back, but that's not the case. And so I understand it from an intellectual level, but I also understand it from personal level because I got family members who went through it. So when James suggested it to me, I was like 100%.
Yeah, and it also sounds like financially it's lucrative to keep that pipeline to prison open.
100%, especially with private prisons. And, you know, private prisons are like, if they don't have a certain amount of prisoners, they start charging the state more, right? And so, like, it just seems like it just seems like, okay, so we're setting it up to have people in prison, when the reality is, you know, you want these young men and women coming back and being able to reintegrate into society, right? Like, you want them to join their families and go to work, and, you know, and it just seems like the system is set up completely the opposite way.
That's a big business, John. And Sam, you know, states go into these here bid programs where they can get up to billions of dollars as long as they can fulfill the prison beds at 90% capacity.
Right.
If they fail to reach that 90% capacity of filling the beds, then they in turn get fined half of what they've been paid out. So
right.
If they got $500 million, then they have to pay another $250 million back in. So $750 million just because they failed to fulfill that 90% bed still.
Right.
Right.
Well,
you know, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and the system is, you know, it's broken all the way through, right? Because, you know, you got people who are getting arrested, and, you know, we have this whole system that's set up for people to have to take plea deals, right? Because if they don't take a plea, then they get a longer sentence. So they take plea deals, and they go to prison, and they get this record, then they come out, and they can't get a job, and then, whoops, right back to prison again. So.
Yes.
Well, here's a big question that wasn't on our script, but, you know, talking about all the prison and the second sentences and the discrimination and the pipeline and, you know, feeding the beast, the machine of prison, how do you think the reform of police departments and George Floyd, the protests, things like that, how do you think that's going to affect the prison system? Because I know COVID-19 and some of this stuff has already affected local jails, but I'm not sure how it might affect the prison system. How do you think it might affect?
You know, I that's a good question. I mean, here's what I think. I think that because I grew up in the hood, right? So I've seen the police and interactions with the police from that side pretty much my whole life. It's only been a couple of years from being on the show where I've had it to see it from the other side, right? And so I have a little bit of insight of what the police go through. It's not an easy job, right? And it's dangerous. It's not easy, but at the same time, right? There are absolutely abuses that are going on, and so there are people who are in prison right now because of police officers that, like, you know, weren't doing what they were supposed to do, whether it was manufacturing evidence or planning evidence or whatever. There's people who are in prison right now. So I think if police departments are overhauled, and look, it'll never be perfect. There's always going to be a bad cop, right? There's always going to be a couple of bad cops. The problem is, though, is that the culture of the police with the blue wall, right, is that even when good cops see cops who aren't good, there's no incentive for them to come forward, because what it does is it ostracizes them. And so, you know, if you're going to be the cop who is going to call on other cops, when you're out in the street and you need help, backup may be real slow to come, right? Or it may not come at all. So cops are not dumb, so that the system has to be rebuilt so that there's an incentive for good cops to want to make sure that the other cops are good, because they recognize bad cops are bad for society. It's bad for the department. It's bad for society. But if you overhaul what happens with the police, because, you know, it's like they say, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you overhaul the police department, and the police department is, look, there are people who commit crimes. There are people who commit murders and robberies and rapes, and that happens, and police officers are the ones who go out and get it. But there's also, you know, we've seen so many instances of, you know, excessive force being used where it didn't necessarily have to be, right? And so, like, people plant evidence being planted on suspects. I mean, we've all seen the stories, and now with body cams and with cell phones, a lot more of that stuff is coming to light. So I think when you start to overhaul the police department, better cases will start coming in, but also you'll probably start getting better cooperation among the community, right? Because the community, the African-American community has been screaming about this problem for decades, right? But nobody believed us, right? There was never, if you got beat up or somebody in your family got shot and you went to the police station, you weren't going anywhere because there's no proof and it's your word against the cops. And, so we've always known about this problem, and I think that probably fosters a lot of distrust between the African-American community and the police department. And I think when that problem starts getting addressed in a meaningful way, I think ultimately, long-term, it will improve the relationship between minority communities and the police department. Because let's face it, Beverly Hills residents aren't nervous about the cops. They're happy to see them, right? They're always happy to see the Beverly Hills Police Department because they have a different relationship with them. Right. Their needs are being met in a different way. Their kids are not being profiled and stopped. No kid in Beverly Hills gets shot unarmed by 4 police officers. Like, that doesn't happen, and there's a reason why it doesn't happen.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh. Well, John, we're just about out of questions here.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we do have one more question. If you could say something to all of the fans who have faithfully followed you, followed your career, and followed the 3 seasons of Murder Chose Me, what would you say to them?
Okay, so it's funny. I remember. A fan hit me up. This is like right after the beginning of Murder Chose Me, and was like, "Oh, I'm so surprised that you replied back to me." And I was like, "Listen to me. I will always reply back to any fan who hits me up." And the reason is simple. I remember a time not that long ago when like the only fans I had were me and my son, right? And like it was just the 2 of us. So I'll never forget not having any fans, and so having people who and let's face it, people have their own lives going on. They got, families and mortgages and work and, health issues. And so when someone takes time out of their busy life to contact me to say, whatever, I'm a fan of yours or a fan of the show, how dare I not be able to take a few minutes back to tell them thank you? Because, out of all the things we all have to do during the day, contacting some actor is probably one of the least important things, right? So for someone to do that, I really appreciate it, and I would just say to the fans, I can't begin to tell you guys how much the interactions with you guys have meant, how much the love and support from you guys, how uplifting that is. I've had fans, I don't even know these people, and people have hit me up and like, John, I'm praying for you. And I'm like, man, you know how powerful that is? Like, people I don't know. Wow. People got family members don't pray for you. You know what I'm saying? You got strangers, you got strangers saying, yo, I'm praying for you and I'm following your career and, God bless you. And it's like, man, it's been so uplifting. It's been so amazing. So I would just, fan will come up, and I remember one lady came up and she's like, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you. And I'm sitting there thinking, lady, I'm excited to meet you. You're a fan of mine. I'm probably just as excited to meet you as you are, as you are to meet me. So I would just want to say to the fans, man, like from the bottom of my heart, I really, truly appreciate the love and their interaction and, us being able to like have that. So if you guys hit me up, I'm always, whether I have 5,000 or 55,000 or 555,000 fans, if it's at all possible. Sometimes that takes me to half the day to go through the messages, but I want to make sure that, I reply back to everyone because I think they deserve that. So just really a big, heartfelt thank you.
Well, John, we love you, and it is a pleasure and an honor to speak to you and interview you, so I deeply appreciate it. And I just want to say, I don't know if I can speak on behalf of everybody, but I greatly appreciate what you do and what others in your craft do, because it takes us out of our own selves and out of our own lives for a moment and transports us into your world, the world that you're portraying, and allows us to feel something other than what's inside of our own heads for a while. So thank you.
My pleasure, man. Thank you, and thank you guys so much for having me on, and thank you guys for the support. I can't be more thankful enough for the love.
We appreciate you coming on, John, and once again, now, all right, now this last part, I'm gonna cut this right here, but Lucy's been a big fan of yours, man. She's been hounding me for your phone number. Now let me quit playing.
Oh, James.
You just gonna put you on blast.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. No,
James, I'm forward and direct enough. I lived in New York. I think I'm forward and direct enough that I could ask him for myself. Thank you.
No problem, girl. Hey, but anyway, now Lucy and I, we work together on a lot of different projects, John, and she's fun and very smart lady, and things like we have, our next guest coming up tomorrow, on Tuesday, I should say, is Jim Cressman out of Canada. For Spreaker Entertainment, and it's like Canadian Country Music Association. All the big country, a lot of them are on his label, and he's also has a label that is a joint venture with Universal Music Group, but anyway, they're following your story, as well as a lady named Simone Higginbottom out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's following your story.
She's doing some tremendous community service work. Tremendous.
That's awesome. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, you guys, I think if you guys follow me, you know how I feel about, social supporting social programs and getting involved in volunteerism, and especially stuff with kids. That's kind of my soft spot.
Okay. Well, once again, John, we appreciate you taking. I know it's supposed to be 2 hours, but man, don't nobody really want it. But I put that out there. we got it down to an hour, and and then that way, when people call in and they still want to know how can they get in contact with you, then we'll see if we can get you back on, and that way maybe have an open mic for you.
Right. John, cool. Yeah.
John, why don't you give your Instagram handle, your Facebook, any kind of meeting spaces you have, groups that you have, so that people can look you up.
All right, cool. So you can get me on Instagram at John Nicholson the actor _. So the underscore goes after the R in actor. John Nicholson the actor _ on Facebook. You can find me at John Nicholson, the actor. And on Twitter, you can get me at John Nicholson 71.
And hey, y'all, if you're looking at an actor or an entertainment professional's page and they don't have that little blue check mark by it, it's not them.
Well, hold on. I don't have a blue check mark yet. I'm on my way to getting one, but I don't have one yet. So don't say that. I'm trying to get verified.
Right. Well, I mean, that's a big pet peeve of mine. Priyanka Chopra, she was spoofed and somebody was running around pretending to be her. I reported it, but it was just. I don't respect that kind of thing. You can't jump up on somebody else's clout,
100%. Trust me, I'm trying to get verified. It ain't easy, but I'm definitely trying.
I hope they verify you soon. They need to.
I hope so too. I do. I hope so too.
All right, then, brother. Hey, well, you have a great rest of your evening, and we thank you once again from the bottom of my heart.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you. We love it, John.
Absolutely, man. You guys have a good night.
You too.
All right, man. Peace out.
Okay.
All right, peace out. And this is James Whitfield and Sam, also known as Lucy Bones at Our Turn Social Media Network Radio. Thank you for joining us, and we will wrap up here.